right here is where I want to put the headphone jack.
Scotty Allen is an engineer and filmmaker who posts videos modifying smartphones. He lives in Shenzhen in China and was inspired by the city's busy electronics markets to have a go at modding his own devices. Millions of people have watched him add a working headphone jack to the iPhone 7 after Apple removed it, and his latest experiment is adding wireless charging to an old phone. Obviously, you shouldn't attempt this unless you know what you're doing. You could wreck your phone, and there are safety risks. I sat down for a video call with Scotty to talk about what phone modders in Shenzhen call DIY.
What inspired the headphone jack project was, one, this frustration with not having the headphone jack anymore. I have some nice in-ear headphones that I still really love, and carrying around an adapter didn't strike me as very much fun, and I really wanted to see if it was possible.
What was the process of putting a headphone jack back into the iPhone like?
The process was way more involved and way more frustrating than I possibly could have imagined. When I started taking the phone apart and looking at what was in that space where the headphone jack was, I thought what I was gonna say is, there is no space, see here, see this is the thing that they put in that space where the headphone jack would be. Except that when I did that, it was sort of a relatively useless piece of plastic. And it made me realize, wait a minute, I think there actually is enough space to put a headphone jack here. In the end, I couldn't find a reason why it wasn't possible, and so I ended up succeeding. And then I got a message from a Chinese fan who said, I built a wireless charging add-on for the iPhone, do you want to come see it? That really was our kind of collective process of debugging that and making it possible for other people to do that.
When you modify your phones, what's the worst thing that's happened?
The worst thing that happens, and this happens semi-regularly unfortunately, is that I break a logic board, which is sort of the heart of the phone. It's like the motherboard in a computer. Because of that, it makes up the bulk of the price of the phone.
How much do you think your projects have cost you in total?
It's in the thousands. I think it's probably less than 10,000 still, but I wouldn't really want to calculate it close enough to figure out what. It hurts to think about that.
Is there anything left that you'd like to put into a phone? What do you want to get in there next?
You know, there are a lot of things that viewers and fans have suggested. Can you add more storage? Can you add more memory? Can you add an SD card? I'm very careful to choose which projects I tackle based on which ones I think are possible. And not everything is equally possible. So one I get a lot is, can you add a Touch ID button to an iPhone X? And that sounds pretty close to impossibly hard.
Why do you think people try and add features onto old phones? Is it a cost-saving measure?
The real answer is because it's fun, because I'm curious, because it's a great way to learn about sort of the cutting-edge devices. I really enjoy sort of telling the stories of being an engineer trying to figure this stuff out. The goal is not to have that like end working perfect phone at the end. It's the journey.